Hello, welcome to another video from Avenue X. Today, let's talk about Gu Qin. And I've asked your opinion for the drama nominations and scenes that you want me to look at regarding the screen representation of playing this instrument in Chinese period dramas. And thank you for your input. And by the end of this video, I promise you, you will become an expert of spotting what has been done right or wrong when it comes to this instrument. We're gonna have fun today. I have to first start with some basics of qin playing. And even if you just watch this first section, you will be able to spot most of the wrong things about qin on screen in Chinese drama. First, what is qin? Currently in Chinese, we call it Gu Qin, literally means ancient qin. It is coming from a contemporary person's perspective. We're referring to older times and ancient times and imperial China. Whereas historically, this is just qin. And qin is almost a general category of any type of instrument. Even piano in Chinese is gang qin. In contemporary China, literally means steel qin. Qin is literally instrument that has strings. It is, as you can tell, about 1.2 meters long. It can be from 115 to even 125 or close to 130, depending on how big the piece of wood is used for making it, but it wouldn't be any bigger than that. The good qins these days are all handmade, although there are machine-made ones that will be sold at a much cheaper price. And to make a qin, it usually takes close to a year's process time because it has to get dry and polished and over many different processes. So usually qin makers would be making multiple qins in one batch. It often gets mistakenly mixed with another instrument, which is called zheng, or currently gu zheng, again, ancient zheng. And zheng is a bigger instrument that looks similar, but actually has a very different origin and different sound and different ways of playing. Under my pinned comment, some people have nominated scenes of Chinese dramas that are actually of the characters not playing qin, but playing zheng. For example, the recent Double drama, where the female lead plays a tune that turns her into a goddess. That sequence, she is playing a version of zheng instead of qin. So how do you tell the difference between these two instruments? First, visually, zheng is bigger. It is wider, it is boxier, it is thicker, and it usually doesn't stand on a desk. It stands on two frames that holds it up on two ends. Take a look at the size of the qin. It really is only this big. Relatively easy for it to move it around. Zheng or gu zheng today is usually 21 stringed instrument, and qin is only 7. If you look at the top-down view of a gu zheng, you will see that every how many strings there's a colored string, and that is just for you to easily locate where you should be plucking because you have 21 strings to look at. Sometimes it can be disorientating, whereas qin only has 7, so you almost never have that problem. The easiest way to tell the difference between a qin and a zheng is actually looking at the middle. If you see bridges that's movable in individual pieces that's holding the string up in the middle of this instrument, that's a zheng, whereas qin doesn't have that. Qin's bridge is this. This is the only piece on the right-hand side that's called the head of the qin, and this is the bridge. You don't have a middle bridge. So if you see middle bridge, that's zheng. If you don't see it, 7 string, that's qin. This is 0.0 of today's video, talking about what is a qin. Now, let's start with, I have notes. 5 basic things you need to know about qin. Once we have that down, we're gonna go through those clips, and I guarantee you, after hearing me talk about the 5 points, you will already know all the clips, what are the problems in them. Point number 1, how should you place the instrument? A lot of dramas don't even do this right. For the player, it's always the head on the player's right hand, tail on the player's left hand. If you hold it up, you see there are 2 legs. There. Those are the qin legs, where the strings are tied to them. Technical name would be the feet of the swan, and it should be on the left side. So if you look at the middle of the qin, and to the player, the legs are on the left. If it somehow gets flipped around, and now the bridge is on the left hand, and then the legs are on the right, then you are placing it wrong. You cannot play a qin like that. When it's placed correctly, you will see this qin tilting up. The head is sitting on the desk, and then the leg is here, so it's propping it up that way. If you see the qin completely flattened, or even this side is higher, then they're placing it wrong. Also, these little, what we call fly head, because it looks like a ribbon and like a fly, is the head of the string that got tied to the qin. It needs to be on the right side. Then the easiest way actually to spot whether the qin is being placed correctly is to look at these dots. They're called hui. Literally are marking points for where you should be putting your fingers to have the notes in the right position, like. And there are 13 dots. If it's placed correctly, the dots should be on the outside of the player. If those dots are here, closer to me, it's wrong. Certain dramas actually flip it around, and I'll show you a couple of pictures. You'll see what's wrong with that, and that's the worst mistake you can make. Number 2, coming very close to the worst mistake you can make with placing qin, is placing it in the right direction but wrong way. In many dramas, you will see this unfortunate thing happening where they place the qin. I try not to do it because it's gonna ruin my tuning, like that. Tiny differences, but you see now it's this head higher, tail lower, and it's wrong because they're placing it on these tuning knobs underneath the qin. There are 7 as each holds a string, and they're just tuning knobs. In qin term, it's called qin zheng. And the science of it is you have the fly head of the string, and it gets hooked on to a rope that is twisted and go through the board, through the qin, and the knob is empty in the middle. So this whole thing gets hooked onto the knob, and the knob twists and changes the tension of the string. The string then goes to the tail and then gets wrapped around the legs. That's how you tighten qin string. Once you tune it to your use of playing a music, you don't want to touch it anymore. Any pressure applied onto it can make your instrument completely go out of tune, and it's unstable. If you see the unfortunate occurrence of the qin zheng or the tuning knob sitting on the desk, it's already wrong. So that's another big problem, and you will see a lot of examples in this video. Later in this video, I'll show you how you tune. Number 3, as a player, where should you be sitting when you are playing, or how should you be sitting in relation to the qin? Now that is the part that I see 99% of Chinese period dramas don't do correctly. First is in relation to this qin in its length. You should be sitting, counting those marking dots somewhere between 4 and 5. So ideally, 1, 2, 3, 4, dot 4, dot 5, the middle of your body should be pointing to the middle of between 4 and 5. That's the contemporary standard way of placing yourself in relation to the qin. Ancient time, there's sort of a tendency to sit slightly towards this side, but it's still dot 5. So it's very little. It's only about 4 centimeters difference. You're either pointing the middle of your body to number 5 or number 4.5. Tiny difference, and that's it. You should not be sitting here, which often you see in dramas. The person is sitting in the middle. Whether you're sitting like this with it on the desk and you're on a stool, or you're sitting on a lower stool and a lower desk, the relative distance, the position you are to the qin is the same, which is you have to naturally drop your arm, and it creates this 90-degree angle. You're not sitting too high like that, or you're sitting too low and you're holding, you have to touch the qin like that. You have to be basically almost perfectly 90-degree angle, and it's like playing piano. Exactly the same way as you cannot be like that or that, because that inhibits you from moving freely, and it will be very hard for it to do certain movement if you're not sitting in the right height. And then in terms of this distance, it will just be if you naturally drop your arm and you can reach all of them comfortably, not too far away, not too tight like that. That's it. Another thing about why you have to sit between 4 and 5 or at 5 is when you're playing qin, where your hand should be. For qin playing, your right hand is most of the time creating sound by plucking the string. Whatever you're doing, you're making sound with your right hand. And as you go further down, the sound will become looser and lesser sharp and concentrated because it's further away from the bridge. So you don't want to create a sound that's down here. Doesn't sound good? This sounds better. Proper qin playing requires your right hand to stay very close to the bridge. You're plucking the string between the bridge and first dot. Usually you don't go over. You don't go to maybe a little bit. Sometimes when you're playing really fast and you're not really noticing it, like you're doing things like you're going a little bit out of the ordinary sort of like range, it's fine, but you're not going any further down. Therefore, if you're sitting down the middle, it's going to be awkward because you would naturally want to play it further down and it's going to sound bad. You want to play here and you're going to reach and your wrist is going to be twisting in an odd angle. And that's why you have to be sitting closer to the head. And then your left hand is most of the time just doing gliding along, tapping, all types of movement with different fingers because it needs to go like that, right? So it's okay if you're sitting closer to the head because it's not really plucking the string, it's just moving around, controlling the flavor of the note. Point number 4. Yes, I know, but we will get to the clips, okay? Regarding the hand of the player, trying to show to the different cameras. Regarding the hand, the thing to spot whether it's right or wrong for the instrument and whether it's real playing or fake playing is the right hand, because of its plucking of the string, needs to have nails that's beyond the fleshy pad of your finger. It has to extend basically about 2 millimeters beyond the tip of your finger. That way you can pluck the string with half flesh, half nail, creating the substantial but also full sound. If it's only flesh, you cannot create a sound. It's very stuffy. Only flesh, half nail, half flesh. Standard qin playing requires right hand, these 4 fingers, apart from your pinky, because your pinky never plucks the string anyway. These 4 fingers needs to have nails extending beyond your flesh for about 2 millimeters. Not a lot, but it needs to be there. If you don't have nails, you have to wait till your nails grow out to play, otherwise it's not gonna make a sound. Then for your left hand, you're not supposed to keep any long nails. Reason being, you're gliding on the string. If you have too long a nail, it's gonna touch the next string. And also when you're pressing down, if you have long nails, you're not going to be able to press down fully because the nail is going to stop you. Because of that, your left hand cannot keep any nail that's extending beyond the tip of your finger. So if you're looking at a close-up, the actor is not keeping the nail on the right hand, not keeping the nails on the left hand, then it's wrong. It's not for this instrument. And also for Gu Qin, there's no fake nail, there's no fake pick like you have for Gu Zheng. So another way to tell the difference between Qin and Zheng is Zheng is played with fake nails that's wrapped around the fingers with a tape. It's being picked by a hard nail, so it's like hard on hard. The final thing is a really funny thing. If you're wearing a lot of those things, you probably want to push them back on your wrist because if it gets in the way, it's gonna knock on the board. Another thing is if you have long sleeves, which you often see people would be wearing in Chinese period dramas, notice if they are pushing the sleeves back a little bit or holding it for sure so that it wouldn't extend over. If the actors are playing it and all the sleeves are just like coming down to this position and it still sounds good, it's fake. Because as soon as your cloth touches the string, it inhibits the vibration of the string and the music will stop instantly. Now I've talked about all those basic points, you already know more than 90% of people, I'd say, who don't play this instrument. Now let's have fun and look at specific examples in Chinese dramas and see how they butcher this ancient Chinese instrument. Due to YouTube's super strong algorithm, if I actually play the clip, I'm likely to get copyright strike. So I can only do screenshots. Let's start with things that are not even qin. For example, Strange Tales of Tang Dynasty, a drama I really like. They're doing everything almost correctly with the girl playing the qin for the first time to meet the guy, and then you see on the bridge of that qin, there's no fly head. For a qin, If you don't see a fly head of the string, it's not really a qin, it's a prop. It will not make a sound as it should be making. Then there are other things that are just abomination of being a qin. For example, in the drama, Oh My Emperor. If you look at the qin that Xiao Zhan is playing in the drama, first, it doesn't even have qin zhen, which is the knob, the tuning knob. It does not have it. So where does the string attach to and how do you tune the instrument? It does not have legs, the swan's legs that's standing the instrument up and tying the string. Again, that's not a qin. And also the string have been strung on the qin so high up that however you press it down, you can actually press it down. Because for qin, you need to be able to hold down the string on the board completely. If you cannot even press it down because it's too high, then it's just not the instrument. Other things that you will see, for example, in Haolan Zhuan, I have no idea what that is. It looks ridiculous. It's like a whole piece of broken wood, and somehow that looks elegant, I guess. Prop person thinks it looks pretty, but it's not a qin, where the string is strung in a weird way. And then if you look at how high the string has been elevated over the board, the person cannot even hold it down, so you can't play it. It's not gonna make a sound the way you want it. Those are the weird props you can see in Chinese dramaland, and they're not qin. And now you know what are not qin, and you will be able to tell from now on better than 90% of Chinese drama audiences. Now, let's go through different dramas because they all sin in different ways and we can all talk about them. Let's start with the recent drama Du Huanian, Princess Royal or the Grand Princess. In this drama, there are multiple scenes of qin playing. There's a banquet situation where a female lead and male lead are all there and she is playing the qin. In that scene, there's a memory of what happened before in their last lifetime where she is playing it with the male second. The male second is placing it at least correctly on their lower desk, but she is not. She had the qin zhen up on the desk, so that's the first mistake of that sequence. Then when she's in the current lifetime sitting there playing for the banquet, her movement in general, like that, is correct. Your left hand is going this way, right hand going that way, not a big problem. All those movement doesn't look like there's any acceptable amount of force applied, so it's all like dancing on the top. It's not gonna create any substantial sound. You really need to actually have quite a bit of force applied to the instrument to make it sound good. Then you do have another scene of the male lead getting kind of assassinated when he's playing the qin in the flower field. That is roughly sitting, placing all correctly, although the actor clearly cannot play the instrument either, so he's just sitting there, putting a music track under that clearly doesn't coordinate with his body movement. But that is a tune called Feng Qiu Huang, which literally means the male phoenix is courting the female Phoenix, a very classic tune that often is used expressing romantic love, which I will mention later in another clip of another drama where the character actually plays this tune. Far too much reverb they've added in the post-production. That's not really how it would naturally sound like. Kind of remember the beginning, and then later I forgot. I haven't practiced it for years. Let's move on to 且是天下who rules the world. There's a very brief scene, somebody nominated, where our female lead is walking towards the lake, and then she sees a supporting male role sitting there playing qin. First thing you'll hear is strong reverb in post-production that again does not exist with this instrument naturally. It is way too reverby. Then, what's wrong? Look at this. You don't need me. You already see, spot the big mistake. Yes, the tuning knob, qin zhen, is on the desk. Moving on to the next one, 锦绣 Weiyang, the whatever of Weiyang. Couple of years ago, actually, quite old drama now. There's this brief sequence of all the girls kind of like competing and trying to impress the empress, whatever. We have a female character goes up there playing qin. You already know. First is she is placing again the knob on the desk. Like 80% of Chinese dramas don't place it correctly. The sound that is actually dubbed into the drama is from a guzheng, not from a guqin. So the best way to tell the difference between the sound of guzheng and guqin would be guzheng is louder, bigger, and a lot more opulent and flamboyant. Because it's hard on hard, when you're playing it, you're literally using a hard thing, touching a hard string. It wouldn't have this aged, sad, scratchy, rough sound that Gu Qin has. It's all very rounded. It's like a perfect, rounded crystal jade bead that's dancing and jumping on something. It's very clear and sharp and ding ding dong dong ding ding dong dong dong. And also the scratchy sound is very unique to Gu Qin. It will not show up in Gu Zheng, like this type of. Jinxiu Weiyang has it all wrong on the desk, sitting too close to the middle, using Gu Zheng to dub, and then the hand movement looks too fake. Then a big one, a great drama, but nonetheless often gets laughed at when it comes to that moment, which is episode 20 of Nirvana in Fire 1. The worst birthday party for a character in drama history. Gong Yu playing a tune at this big banquet that makes the Grand Princess very, very sad. And she plays again Feng Qiu Huang. That one. So you can hear in the dubbing track, it is that, but again, too much reverb first, which is something people like to do, and it doesn't sound really coming from the instrument. Yes, she has the qingzhen on the desk. Again, like I said, 80-90% of Chinese dramas will make that mistake. She's supposed to be a courtesan who is an expert and famous for her qin playing, and and everybody who's listening to it has to pretend it sounds so good, when in actuality on set it probably sounds like. Not even that. I don't know. It's just gonna be ridiculous, but it's really, really fun. Next, moving on. 少年歌行, Blood of Youth. You have a sequence where they have all the CGs and fightings and flower petals flowing, and the male lead sits down and plays a qing and tell me what is wrong with it. Yes, the qingzhen is on the desk again. Now, if you look at a couple of cutting, extreme close-up on the hand is definitely not the male lead's hand. It's actually doing all the right movement with the sound. So they did bother to find a shouti hand double for that sequence. Although it only gets used for a couple of shots, when they're shooting the hand double, it's placed in the right way, and then when they're shooting the lead actor, probably it's not even on the same day. Then, 长相思. 长相思 has multiple, I think, sequences of qin playing. In case I repeat things, and you can go and check out season 1 moment and tell me what's wrong with it, if there's anything wrong. But season 2, that has recently started, episode 4 at the beginning, where Xiao Yao is playing and Xiang Liu comes over and says, hey, you cannot even play well, and then he plays one. For that whole sequence, it's very painful for me to watch. First, when it starts, Xiao Yao is sitting too close to the middle. She's playing it like that, sitting low. And then she moves to the side so the guy can sit down and play. So the guy is now in the middle. So Tan Jianci is also 2 in the middle. So both of them are 2 in the middle. That's the wrong position. Then when Tan Jianci start playing, they made up this tune that obviously doesn't sound like it comes from qin. That music that they play as BGM is a mixture of multiple instruments. One of them is qin, but not on top. On top it's a different instrument. And then the problem with Xiang Liu playing is he's singing this very war-like song. And he has very extreme movement. He has those, like if you look at, he's doing 搓, which is 大搓, which is big 搓. That usually is for strings that are too far away from each other. This is 小搓, which is little 搓. Anyway, he's doing a lot of 大搓, and then he's doing a lot of 波拉, which is 3 fingers touching multiple strings and in a very fast motion. So. And for the 2 strings on the outside, which is string 1 and 2, if you have repeating motion like that, it usually comes from that famous tune called 广陵散, but it's only touching 2 strings, really. Like that. And then you have very commonly doing that on the 6th and 7th in many different, like in 流水, flowing water. For 波拉, it usually only happens like among 2 strings. Very big movement happens very rarely. Something like that, but it only happens once in the whole tune, and it's already over the top. So for Gu Qin, it is very reserved instrument, there is this one rule that when you start learning, all the teachers will tell you is control your movement, don't do overboard. If this is enough, don't do this. If this is enough, don't do this. If this is enough, don't do this. If you overdo it, you're gonna get beaten by your teacher because it's improper for this instrument. You're not supposed to go that high performancing sort of almost show off movement is not in tune with the nature of the instrument, and it will be laughed at. And he's doing a lot of those type of movement that does not really exist. It's really scary. It made me startled and jump off my seat. I'm like, whoa, what is that? Not to mention, it's not really sitting in the right position. I think it's because the movement looks cool and bigger, so they're, let's just do it like that. But that's just like still not understanding the instrument. Then, probably all my audiences knows, because you probably have all watched 星汉灿烂 2-3 years ago, is it? With Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi. And in that drama, there is a big scene of Wu Lei playing a tune for the Empress birthday banquet. And it does get promoted a lot as well on China's internet due to Wu Lei is doing it himself for real, and he did get a teacher, and these days people just wouldn't want to give up any opportunities of promoting, and somehow it becomes a rare thing for an actor to actually learn what they should be learning for their role. It just shows how pathetic the situation of Chinese drama land really is these days. But let's look at his playing. So he's playing the famous tune called Liu Shui, Flowing Water. One of the harder, better known one, not the hardest, but like it's at 80% mark or 85% mark if 100 is the hardest thing you can play. So it's overall still quite difficult. The whole thing takes about 8.5 minutes to play, but it's very personal. Somebody will play it a lot slower, somebody will faster. And then because it's broken down into many different chapters, parts of it sounds very epic, parts of it sounds very quiet. He's playing in the drama is being cut and edited into very short pieces of a few chapters. It's not the whole thing. I think the actor studied a couple of big movement of that tune and well-known parts, so he knows actually where his hands needs to be. And then when it cuts to close-up, they will have a real player, so you can see that some movements are by the real player, I believe. Then if you look at the close-up, one thing you will notice is Wu Lei's hand actually doesn't have nail on the right hand that's long enough for him to actually pluck the string and make a sound. It will sound like, because he doesn't have enough nails. And then his movement is roughly in the right sort of position when it needs to be, but you can tell that he really doesn't play. So if you play it for a couple of years, then your movement will be a lot more relaxed and you'll be at ease. And when you're not, you're very tense and it's hard to relax when you don't know. So he looks extremely tense and doesn't know how to apply force, and that comes with time. You cannot force that, but it's already better than 99% of other Chinese dramas. When it comes to filmland, somebody asked me, how about Red Cliff? Many years ago with Liang Chaowei and Jing Chengwu, they have a qin duet. Now that part is a bit weird because it is a mixture of the actors playing it themselves and then hand doubles. So you can see that both exists, and with a lot of angles and cuttings. I can tell both actors have learned to some extent how to sit correctly, move correctly, and some of the hand movement is actually because this looks epic, so everybody does it. So those are all there, and you can see that they probably practiced a bit, but not too much. So it's at that zone of looking okay, but then if you play the instrument, you can tell they still don't play it, that weird zone. Also, it's funny, if you actually play qin, you watch the Red Cliff film clip, it's like a mashup of two very famous Chinese qin tunes and taking parts of it. And they're all picked for the epic movement. So they're mashing up Guangling San, which is a very famous piece of music, although it's actually not the original one. Historically, there's a Guangling San that's lost. The one we have now is not really the historical one, but that's a long story. And it has that bit that's very epic. And then Liu Shui, Flowing Water. The Wu Lei also played the part. And then he also has that movement. So you'll see that in the Chibi part, the Red Cliff part, where it kind of mashes two tunes up, and it's just ridiculous, honestly. These two tunes have nothing to do with each other. Anything to do with music instrument in films, people just want to make it look cool. Whether it's actually real or not, it does not matter. I have gone through most of the interesting clips, I think, I've collected under that comment. Again, thank you for your input, and hope you found this video helpful and useful and interesting. After you've watched this video, you really do know more than 99% of people in China about Qin, and that's a great achievement, and you can show that off to other people now. And then from now on, when you watch Chinese period drama, whether it's a fantasy or realistic setting, you can tell whether they're placing it correctly, playing it in the right way, having the right nails, having the right movement, and you've been an expert. To end this, just adding a little bit on the end, if you are more curious about this instrument, the 7 strings, the thickest and the lowest string will be the furthest from the player. So that's string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, that way. So the last one will be the thinnest and highest. And classic tuning would make it sol la do re mi sol la, which is not what I have now. Not really. I would need to move the 3rd and the 6th up. So you just tune the knob tighter. And then you're using harmonics to hear if it's like right. For example, when you're tapping, it should be the same. If it's not, then you need to move one. This is too low. Oh, that's roughly right. So it's too high. So now, sol la do re mi sol la, and then depending on how you want to tune it, you really can do it yourself. So I tend to tune my A to 4-3-2 because I don't like 4-4-0 for some reason. Just using harmonics to check if everything is in tune. For example, if you tap dot 10, 5th string, it should sound exactly like dot 9, 7th string. So that's the same. So that means it's like, for example, if your 5th, the 5th one is right, then your 6th, 7th would be right now. Now you use the right 7 to tune the 4. The 4th string, the 9th, should be sounding exactly the same as the 7th string 7. If that's right, then again, it's in the right place. And then the 4th 10 should sound exactly like the 6th string 9th. Then 6th string 7th should sound like the 3rd string 9th. And then these are all paired up, 7 and 9. So if you've checked them all out and it's all like in the right position, then you will have, and that's usually how you tune it very quickly once you get used to it. So it's all in place. Once you tune it for that one piece, you cannot change it while you're playing it. So there always is a limit of what you can do, particularly when you're trying to do chord. I am not an expert of math, of Qin, but technically, if you want to figure out with a very mathematical way, you can, and you can have crazy things happening. Some people even have fun and use a bow to play it as a cello, which you can actually do, but it's just a little bit sacrilegious. Oh, another extra thing that a lot of people actually wouldn't really consciously be aware of is with the 13 dots here, 1, 2, 13, the 7th is actually a dividing point of mirroring harmonics. So this is how they're played open. If you are harmonicking the 7th dot, it will be. So the 6th and the 8th, the 5th and the 9th, they would actually sound the same. So for example, That's mirror, and then the 9. So the harmonics are perfectly mirrored from the 7th. So you can tap a very high note on a very lower dot, and that will sound exactly like. Fun, isn't it? Mathematics. That should be the end of this very long video. I've had a lot of fun making it. Hope you've had fun watching it too. And now I bet you cannot wait for another Chinese period drama to show up and having the characters playing Qing and then with your binoculars spotting what they've done wrong, and have fun. Thank you for watching Avenue X. I'll see you in my next video. Meanwhile, live long and happy drama watching and music instrument playing.